So Troy Jackson won the emergency Democratic primary to replace Graham Plattner as the Democrat running against Susan Collins in Maine. He was the most progressive candidate in the field. And of course, first thing that we see is CNN, before he even wins the campaign, is actively using their large platform to campaign against him, saying that 16 years ago he was anti-abortion and pro-life, and he has talked about how he changed those positions and why he is where he is right now. But naturally, it's normal for CNN, who's supposed to be unbiased, to be weighing in before the Democratic primary to bias you for or against certain candidates, of course, right? It's not just because he's a progressive and they don't like the fact that he's anti-corporation, pro Medicare for all, and wants to support the working families in Maine, which is, by the way, the exact same thing that voters voted for in Plattner. They weren't voting for the man himself. They were voting for the policy positions that he held, that they thought he would represent when he got into power, which was Medicare for all. It was helping push back against Trump's anti-worker agenda, trying to make things more affordable for working class families in Maine. And we're all just fighting back against Susan Collins and the warmongering that the Republicans have done for the last 2 years here. So with all that being said,
5 votes were cast for Sandra Pelletier, and 566 votes for Troy Jackson.
With an overwhelming majority, he wins the primary.
We have a party to unite, we have a movement to build, and we have a senator to defeat. And together, we are going to win.
All right, and then we're going to look at the CNN hit piece that I was talking about to begin with. We can just check that out right now.
It's agreed that abortion should never be legal. Now, that was 16 years ago, and Troy Jackson has since reversed his position and now says he strongly supports abortion rights. But on this questionnaire from 2010, he's listed under the section of pro.
So again, notice the way he frames it. He says, yes, 16 years ago, he said he had these positions. He admitted to having these positions, and he says he's changed them. But look at this document, and the document is from 16 years ago. That's in line with what you just said, but he tried to make it sound contradictory because he wants you to think that his current positions are this. When he said before, these were my former positions, I have evolved on these, I've changed on these. But the way that he's framing it is that he has these positions now, and that's an intentional obfuscation of the truth. He wants you to believe the wrong thing from the way that he's saying it and not what he's actually saying. Because if he lies on air, that could be defamation and they could be sued. But if he frames it in a way that is deceitful, then they can get away with it legally while still getting at the goal that they want, which is to essentially lie about it.
He answered yes on the question of whether abortion should never be legal. But he didn't respond to questions about exceptions for protect the life of the mother, the woman's health, cases of rape or incest, or because of fetal disability. And on the question of whether women seeking an abortion should first be required to view a fetal monitor or ultrasound, Jackson answered yes. We also found this questionnaire from the same group in 2004. Now, that records him.
So again, 2004, we're talking over 2 decades ago now. We went from over a decade and a half ago to over 2 decades ago, holding the position that he has openly admitted to holding.
Over-the-counter access to the morning after pill, Medicaid funding for abortion. He supported parental notification laws, and even notifying the father before an abortion would occur. But Jackson's recent record is dramatically different. His campaign points to his 100% rating from Planned Parenthood Maine Action Fund since 2017. He's voted against mandatory ultrasounds and waiting period proposals, and he supported abortion and contraceptive coverage and Maine's post-Roe reproductive privacy law. The priorities page page on his current campaign website, it even calls for passing a federal right to an abortion. Jackson is poised to challenge Susan Collins in November, and abortion rights advocates blame Collins for helping overturn Roe v. Wade because she voted to confirm conservative Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh, though Collins says she still supports abortion rights. We reached out to Jackson's campaign to...
Yeah, I love this idea that you can say you support abortion rights, and yet you'll do everything to see them destroyed. And then you just say, oh, yeah, but I really support you. It's so disingenuous, dude. And the people of Maine can see that. They're not stupid. I think it's this era of politicians can do one thing and there's no visibility on it, and then they just represent something totally different to their constituents is pretty much over with the amount of coverage that we can give to specific minute policy positions. But you can't do this bullshit anymore of saying, yes, I support this, and yet I led to the outcome that that overturned abortion rights, and then say to the public you're still you're pro-choice, things like that. It just isn't going to fly anymore.
Spokesperson told CNN. Emailed statement, his spokesperson told CNN, in the years since these questionnaires, Troy listened and learned from women and doctors and families across Maine and evolved. Unlike Susan Collins, who stripped millions of women of their constitutional rights by casting the decisive vote for justices who overturned Roe v. Wade.
Justices, by the way, who she knew when she took that vote, they specifically were talking about that they aren't going to overturn Roe v. Wade, but everybody with a half a brain knows that they were obviously going to overturn Roe v. Wade. So in that point, you either get two defenses. You can either say, oh, I didn't know that this person who has spent their entire judicial life saying that they would overturn Roe v. Wade if they had the chance was going to do that when they got to the highest court in the land where they can't be removed except for like explicit impeachment, is you're either, too stupid to be in office or too disingenuous to be in office. And either way, Godspeed to Troy Jackson trying to kick Susan Collins out of there. God knows she's old enough. She's going to be the next Mitch McConnell, who's been probably dead for the last month. Not showing up to work, but apparently not showing up to work is just a par for the course in the Senate. You can just do that and still have a job. Oh, I forgot to mention. If you like this video, please leave a comment for me. Subscribe, whatever you can do to help the channel. They're both free, and I very, very much appreciate it. I don't take a dime from any kind of advertisers. I do this for the love of the game, so anything you can do to help would be very much appreciated. Have a great day. I'll see you in the next vid.